There's nothing in the world like Action Park.
Theme parks, those magical playgrounds promising thrills and excitement around every turn. Who doesn't have fond memories of racing down water slides, screaming on roller coasters, or getting delightfully dizzy on the teacups? But theme parks are more than just childhood wonderlands. Join me on a nostalgic journey back in time as we rediscover 13 cherished theme park attractions that once captivated generations, but sadly have now vanished forever. Our first stop is New Jersey's infamous Action Park, the world's most dangerous amusement park. Who remembers the notorious Cannonball Loop water slide? In 1985, this radical slide promised adrenaline junkies an extreme vertical loop experience like no other. But unsurprisingly, shooting people down an enclosed loop at 50 miles per hour led to some harrowing incidents. Stories circulated of riders getting stuck mid-loop in awkward positions. Within just 1 month of operation, the dangers of the Cannonball Loop could no longer be ignored. Despite its engineering marvel status, Action Park reluctantly shut it down for good. Though brief, the Cannonball Loop earned legendary status as one of Action Park's wildest rides ever conjured. Sticking with Action Park, who can forget the Alpine Slide? This concrete chute was essentially a winding downhill roller coaster on the ground. Riders zoomed down the track at blistering speeds, reaching over 50 miles per hour. Minimal safety barriers meant frequent crashes and even rollovers. The Alpine Slide disregarded bruises as badges of honor, but as injuries mounted, so did liability. Action Park eventually covered the track with padding, which reduced thrills, further hastening the slide's demise. The Alpine Slide was reckless fun at its finest, perfectly encapsulating Action Park's Wild West mentality. No discussion of banned amusement rides is complete without the tragic tale of the haunted castle at Six Flags Great Adventure. In what should have been a family-friendly spook house, an electrical fire tragically claimed 8 lives in 1984 due to inadequate fire safety measures. The haunted castle fire prompted a nationwide overhaul of theme park safety standards. Though unimaginably heartbreaking, the haunted castle fire highlighted the paramount importance of safety over thrills in ride design. Crossing the country to California, Disneyland's flying saucers whisked riders along an air-cushioned track for intergalactic family fun. But below the surface, the advanced air pressure technology needed constant maintenance and guzzled energy at astronomical costs. With operating expenses spiraling out of this world, the unreliable flying saucers were permanently grounded in 1966. Though extinct today, the retro-future aesthetic of the flying saucers endure as a space-age relic. Sticking with Tomorrowland, my Disney-loving friends surely remember the light cycle-inspired People Mover. This leisurely tour glided through scenes of futuristic optimism, bringing immense joy to generations. Sadly, the People Mover hit the end of the line in 1995 after deteriorating beyond repair. Constant breakdown, safety concerns, and accessibility issues doomed this corporately sponsored ride to extinction. The People Mover reminds us that even the most optimistic visions of the future eventually become outdated. In Texas, Six Flags Astro World's standout star attraction was the Texas Cyclone wooden roller coaster. When opened in 1976, the Cyclone boasted record-breaking speeds and stomach-churning drops engineered by coaster legends. But by the early 2000s, the excessive rattling and jolting had deteriorated into a notoriously rough experience dubbed rattle and roll. With maintenance costs skyrocketing and popularity declining, Six Flags sentenced the Texas Cyclone to closure in 2003, then demolition in 2005. The Cyclone's successor coasters incorporated advanced steel track for ultra-smooth rides. Though the all-wood construction fad has passed, the Cyclone paved the way for modern thrill machines. The Python at Busch Gardens, Tampa, similarly revolutionized coaster technology as one of the first looping designs back in 1976. This record-breaking ride featured an unheard-of corkscrew track, bringing squeals of delight. Yet just like the Cyclone, wooden construction equated endless repairs. Frequent mechanical issues grounded the Python more and more through the 90s. With park policies shifting away from maintenance-intensive attractions, the Python took its final plunging loops in 2006. Though extinct today, Python prototypes define the blueprint for the ubiquitous looping coasters of today. In Ohio, Geauga Lake's signature star attraction was the double-looping steel coaster known as the Wildcat. When debuted in 1982, the Wildcat awed parkgoers as the world's tallest and fastest complete circuit coaster. For decades, screams echoed throughout the park from its gut-wrenching loops. But a slow decline in the 2000s sunk the Wildcat's fortunes. After Goga Lake rebranded and slashed budgets, the high-maintenance Wildcat sat dormant from 2007 onward. Though debate continues around resurrecting this lost legend, the Wildcat currently rusts away as a deserted eyesore, no longer the darling star it once was. No theme park retrospective is complete without a nod to the cultural icon that is Elvis Presley. His legacy even extended to amusement attractions like the Flying Carpet at Libertyland, USA. This bizarre 1974 ride whisked riders over a landscape of neon camels and cardboard cutouts of the king himself. As silly as it sounds, the Flying Carpet garnered enormous popularity when opened. But when Libertyland changed owners in 2005, the Elvis Association deemed too costly and kitschy. The Flying Carpet was swiftly dismantled alongside most old-school Libertyland rides to make way for modern revitalization. Though campy and peculiar, the Flying Carpet endures as a pop culture time capsule of 70s Elvis mania nostalgia. Remember Wile E. Coyote in his endless quest to capture Roadrunner? Their hijinks inspired the wacky Wile E. Coyote's Grand Canyon Blaster water ride at Kentucky Kingdom. Riders dressed as the Looney Tunes duo plunged down cartoonish hills, trying to avoid explosive mishaps. This zany attraction opened to enthusiasm in 1989 and operated largely problem-free until a tragic incident took place in 2007. A young rider's feet were traumatically severed when a cable snapped on the ride's conveyor belt. Investigations uncovered overlooked mechanical issues aggravating risks. Liability concerns and PR fallout forced swift dismantling of the ride. Though a freak accident, the incident prioritized safety as paramount. Let's detour to the East Coast's most iconic park, Coney Island, home of the rickety wooden Cyclone coaster. Since 1927, thrill seekers testing their bravado against Brooklyn icon's insane slopes and drops. But by the early 70s, decades of wear and tear had taken its toll. The Cyclone's bumpy ride and constant breakdowns endangered its future. Luckily, a coordinated preservation campaign helped fund extensive refurbishment in the 90s. Thanks to these efforts, today's Cyclone reaches even greater speeds than its former ramshackle self. We applaud the Cyclone's resurrection as a testament to preserving beloved cultural institutions. The rise and fall of the parachute drop at Coney Island tells a similar tale of changing public sentiments. This towering free-fall attraction first welcomed trolley riders in 1939, then transitioned to manually lowered parachute drops in the jet age 50s. For 4 decades, the parachute drop loomed as a welcoming Coney Island icon. But by the early 60s, technological advancements deemed its simplistic thrills too tame. Maintenance burdens exacerbated by devastating fires doomed the landmark ride. The parachute drop sat decaying yet beloved for decades despite repeated demolition threats. Sadly, it took Hurricane Sandy's wrath to ultimately topple the ruins in 2012. Though long struggling, the parachute drop's loss still pains Coney Island faithful. Rounding out the Coney Island trio is Dunno's Wonder Wheel, the park's eccentric Ferris wheel built in 1920. Its swinging cars and gradual motion captivated kids and couples for decades. But by the 80s, the Wonder Wheel had deteriorated into a rust bucket eyesore, frequenting condemnation lists. Fortunately, a new generation of owners invested in revitalizing efforts like fresh paint, restored electronics, and wheelchair accessibility in 1983. Thanks to this facelift, the Wonder Wheel keeps spinning strong nearly a century later. We doff our caps to the Wonder Wheel's incredible longevity. And last but not least, a bittersweet ode to the invasion from Planet Merth ride at Alabama's defunct Visionland theme park. This animatronic boat ride immersed riders into a comic alien world in 1998. Despite dazzling special effects, Visionland just couldn't compete with regional big dogs like Six Flags Over Georgia. After only 5 seasons, the short-lived park went bankrupt in 2003. Scrappers pillaged rides like Planet Merth for spare parts despite public outcry. Today, Visionland sits abandoned, leaving the zany aliens of Planet Merth to fade into galactic obscurity. Its untimely demise reminds us that even beloved attractions often have short lifespans. And there you have it, 13 gone but not forgotten theme park rides resting in the memories of yesterday. From the terrifying thrills of Action Park to the Smithsonian-worthy People Mover, these attractions made their colorful mark on theme park history. We salute everything these lost legends brought to the table. May their sights, sounds, and nostalgia never fade, even if their turnstiles did.